Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Felicia. I'm a knitter, crocheter, and overall yarn enthusiast living in Washington, D.C. And this video journal slash podcast is where I share all of the things that I've been working on and all of the things that I'm loving. If this sounds like the type of video that you would enjoy, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel and follow me on my new knitting dedicated Instagram at Phylena Knits. I will have it linked below. Before we start, I have a couple of things that administrative things that I want to touch on before I share some whips and a finished object and some yarny goodness. So first of all, I want to thank everyone who has watched one of my videos, who has subscribed, who has liked it, who's left a nice loving comment. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so very much. When I started this channel, when I started uploading these videos, it was a way for me to connect with the knitting community because I don't have any fiber friends in real life. And it has been amazing being so welcomed and seeing the response that my videos have gotten. So I just want to thank everybody who has watched my video. I want to especially thank Yolanda over at Happy Knits, who brought up my podcast and shared it a few months ago, and I haven't had an opportunity to get on here and thank her. I've already thanked her in private and on the video, but I did want to thank her again and thank any new viewers who came as a result of Yolanda shouting out my podcast. That means so much to me. I love her. I love her son. I love her videos, and it's one of my go-to staple podcasts that I never miss. So thank you again. Third, I am so blown away by the fact that there are over 1,000 subscribers to this channel. I started this channel with no videos, no subscribers, started from 0, and to have over 1,000 of you here is crazy to me and amazing, and I'm so thankful. And so I am going to do a little giveaway at the end of this video. So if you want to hear more about the giveaway, what you can win and how you can win it, please stay tuned until the end. I think that's everything. Just checking my notes. That is everything that I wanted to say at the beginning. So now I will get into my one finished object, but it comes with a little bit of a story. So I lost my knitting mojo about 4 months ago, and I just now got it back. And for those of you who don't know, I am a civil rights attorney, and there was just a lot going on with work and the world. And then I injured myself roller skating, and I didn't sprain my wrist, but I hurt my wrist, and it was a little difficult to knit for a couple of weeks. And then I had an incident with a whip that I'm gonna bring up, and I just stopped knitting for like 2 months. And I had zero urge to pick up my needles, to knit, to do anything. And part of the disconnect, I think, in a lot of ways, was that my social media, my main personal Instagram account, I follow all of my areas of interest. I follow knitting, I follow crochet, I follow sewing, I follow Pandora, I follow just everything, roller skating, all these things. And a lot of my knitting content was getting pushed out of my feed. And so that was part of the catalyst for me starting a knitting only Instagram, where I could really curate my explore page and my Instagram feed to be miles and miles and miles of knitting. And once I did that, I really felt the urge to pick up my needles again and start knitting, and my mojo came back with a vengeance. So the only finished object that I have right now is my half and half triangles wrap. It's huge. From Purl, Soho. That's one triangle, and here's the other one. And to give you a sense, on my last podcast episode, I hadn't gotten very far. I think I was probably here somewhere. I did all of this in under a month. Like, I could not put it down. I could not stop. I love it so much. And if you watched my first episode, which I will link, I talked a lot about my plans for knitting more and more half and half wraps. And then I got to a point where I was like, maybe I overcommitted. Maybe I don't want to knit any more of these. And then I finished it, and I was like, I want 1,000,001 of them. So I think it was just one of those things where there comes a point in the project where it's tedious and you don't want to work on it anymore. And I got there, not because of losing my knitting mojo, but I think I got there and then I pushed myself to finish, and I'm so grateful that I did, because this is such a, I mean, it's amazing. It's huge. It's huge. I cannot wait to wear this in the fall. Now I knit mine in dark denim, and then I think this is like light gray denim. I'll have the colors that I use linked below. I did use the Purl Soho linen quill. I've seen a lot of complaints, well, not a lot, but I've seen people say that the wool is itchy or it's not super soft. It is a more rustic yarn. It's not the most rustic, but it is a little bit more rustic. I will say that blocking it makes a huge difference. I blocked mine in tucked woolens, and I used the fragrance 5th and 57th. It's one of my absolute favorites. I will have this linked below as well, but you can find this in local yarn shops, but I will link to this exact fragrance. I blocked it in that. It smells so good, and it is so soft. Like, just look at the drape of this. It's so soft and squishy now. So if you are somebody who is worried about the softness or the next to skin of this, I would maybe try to buy just one skein, knit up a swatch, block it, soak it and block it in actual wool wash, not just water, and see how it feels. I love this. It's so warm. It's so great. I love this. So this is my one finished object, and it's been great. I loved it, and it really did help me to get my mojo back, which I really, really needed. So I'm gonna talk about a couple of whips. The first one is the one that I think broke my knitting mojo. And I'm reclaiming it as a whip because I am not a person who likes to have a lot of projects going at one time. I've talked about this before, and I want to be released from the reins of this whip. If you watched my last episode, I talked about this sweater. It's the Chabot sweater by Alma Bali for Brooklyn Tweed. I'm knitting it in Brooklyn Tweed Perry in the Morel colorway. It's a great yarn. It's a merino yarn. It's beautiful, it's soft, it's plumpy, it's juicy. The pattern is great. It's a little confusing in places, but overall it's a very well-written pattern. It's a beautiful sweater. The last time that I shared this sweater, I think I was here. So I had done a lot of the body, but I still had a little ways to go. I did about 3 inches of 1x1 broken rib. Let's see here. I bound off, I did a tubular bind off. I went to try it on, and the bind off snapped, along with my sanity. And I was unwell. I would just say that. I was very unwell for a while. I spent several hours ripping back the 1x1 ribbing, slowly reclaiming stitches and reorienting stitches. And now all of the stitches are safe and secure on a cord. And then I balled the sweater up and I put it in a bag, and I didn't knit again for like 2 months. It broke me. It broke my knitting mojo. I think it was like the final straw where I just was like, I can't. So I am reclaiming this knit. I don't have very much left to finish. I just need to finish the ribbing. I haven't figured out or decided how I'm gonna bind it off, but I at least wanna get the ribbing re-knit. And then I'm gonna think, I really do wanna do a tubular bind off, but I need to figure out a way to make it stretchier because mine was not forgiving at all. And I have a big head. It was just going over a lot of body, and it didn't work out, but I want that, the quality of the tubular bind off. So I don't know if maybe going up a couple of needle sizes when I do the setup rows, and then really concentrating on just binding off loosely will will make it stretchy. I hope that that will work. And I think what I'm gonna do next time is, before I do the setup rows, I will put in a lifeline just in case it doesn't work and I bust the bind off again. I will at least have a lifeline in the ribbing so I don't have to rip back. I mean, I ripped back probably 1.5 inches of ribbing in order to get all of the stitches back on. It was devastating. Then I have one by one twisted rib again for the sleeves, and then a edge finishing detail. So I don't have a lot to do. There's still work to be done, but I think mentally I'm in a better position. I feel more healed. So I feel a lot better now about picking this back up. So I am moving this back into the whip pile, and I am storing this in my Plystra project pouch, which I will also link below. Another whip is my second half and half wrap. In my first video, I talked about how my mom and I picked out some colors for a half and half wrap for her. And these are the two colors that we picked. I think it's Begoniaville Pink and Peach Stone. These are the two colors. I have posted about this on my Instagram. Again, it will be linked below, but these are the two colors that I'm using. They're so beautiful, they're so stunning, and they're so pretty together. And it's very in line with, I've been seeing a lot of people do these more like bright pops of color with the neutrals, and I'm inspired to make one like that next. Even though I have yarn for a different one, I'm inspired to switch out my color to do something that's more of a neon pop type of color, because I think it's more for seasons that way, where you can maybe use the pop of color to brighten up some of your winter wear if you're like me and you wear a lot of tans and neutrals in the winter, or you can use this color in the, you know, spring and summer when you're wearing more pops of color like neons and things like that. So those are the two colors. It's not very far. It doesn't really look like anything now, but I will share with you a few modifications that I'm doing. So the original pattern calls for either 190 or 260 stitches, depending on which size you want to do. The one that I did is 260 stitches. It's huge. My mom is much more petite than me, and so I was worried about it being too big for it to even be functional for her. And I've seen a lot of people say that the 190 stitch size is very small. So I decided to go right in the middle and make like a medium. So I cast on 220 stitches, hoping to get something bigger, obviously bigger than the 190, but not as massive and blanket-like as the 260 stitch version. Another thing that I'm doing, and I did not do this on mine, is that I am doing this I-cord edging. Let's see if it'll pick it up. There we go. Where I'm just at the end of the row, I am slipping the last 3 stitches with the yarn in front, and then when you start to knit on the next row, it folds over those stitches and creates an I-cord. I did not do that on mine. As you can see, it's just garter stitch edging, but for my mom, I want it to be really nice and a lot more professional looking than mine is. I don't really care about that feature, and I kind of like, especially in this color combination, the more rustic kind of feel of the shawl that way. So what I've been doing, my goal is to finish this for her by Christmas. So what I've been doing is in the morning when I have my morning tea and I'm watching the news and just kind of getting myself ready for the day, I will knit on this for about 30 to 45 minutes every morning, and I'm making a lot of progress. And the thing about this is you start with more stitches, so it takes me a lot longer to do rows, but I can already feel them getting shorter and shorter, and so that's really nice. So this will be done by Christmas just because I've been working on it so frequently. So I'm really enjoying having this on the needles. And I think once you make one half and half wrap, you kind of get addicted to them, just how easy they are, how much of a mindless knit it can be, but also how impactful it is. And you can play with color a lot. You can, you know, play with I've seen people do ones with striping and variegated yarns and all of these really pretty things. So I think it's a really great way to play with color, to play with texture, and to end up with something that is so squishy and soft and like a big warm hug when you're done. So I'm very excited for my mom to have this, and I am also enjoying the process of working on it. The next thing that I've been working on is living inside of this old Estee Lauder makeup bag, which I use a lot of makeup bags as project bags because they're small and they're perfect. So I talked about on my first episode that I wanted to explore sock knitting a lot more this year. And when I lost my mojo, I wasn't knitting socks either. The warm weather did not help with losing my mojo either. I just literally physically could not stand wool being on me. And so I had ordered a sock set from Loco, and when I got it, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I didn't cast it on. I'm going to show you the yarn and the project that helped to really speed up me regaining my knitting mojo. But I cast on this vanilla sock, and this again is the yarn is from Loco. It is their Backyard Chicken collection, and it is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this because I know that I can't, but it's this one right here, this top one. And it's a beautiful cream with like yellow, orange, and red speckles. It's so beautiful. The variegation on the yarn is so beautiful. And then it came with this mauve and rose hip minis. They were two 20-gram minis that I'm using for the heels, toes, and cuffs. I'm going to talk a little bit about this sock. It is an experiment for me in a few ways. So one thing that I wanted to do was have a sock that I could cuff over and have it have a little bit more visual interest and texture. So I did do a provisional cast on, knit the ribbing then in the light color, and then attached the dark color, knit the same number of rows of ribbing, and then knit two together to attach it. So I did that for the cuff, and I really like that. The other thing that I did is I knit the leg of the sock a little shorter than I normally would because I wanted to just peek out over the top of some of my winter boots, and I don't want to scrunch my sock down to do that. So I did a little bit of research, not the most scientific or even the greatest research, just about the height of a couple of pairs of boots that I really like, and I knit this so that I can either have it up like this or folded over for a different little pop of color. And I really like the way that it looks when it's folded over because you can still see a little bit of the darker color at the top and the bottom, and that's really, really pretty. In terms of the recipe that I'm using just my regular vanilla sock recipe, which is one that I have knit this gauge of sock before. So it's a little bit of an experiment, but also not. So normally I will knit with, and I have a pair here, I knit a lot of socks with the Patton's Croy sock yarn, which I really, really like. And I highly recommend if you want to be able to make just like affordable pairs of socks, you can knit a pair of socks for less than 10 bucks. And these socks are not precious to me. I wash them, I dry them. They are not felted, but they are a little fuzzy. But these are my just around the house, everyday warm socks. But they're too thick to wear with shoes or boots or anything. So these are just around the house socks. So I used the same method and number of stitches for this, but I am knitting it on a smaller needle. So I cast on 64 stitches. I am knitting these on a US 1, and I think for this particular height I did 40 rounds, and then I started my heel. I did an eye of partridge heel for the heel flap. I turned the heel, and then I've already done the gusset. The other thing that I really personally like to do when it comes to sock knitting is I knit my socks in tandem. So I have two. I like to do this for a couple of reasons. One is that it eliminates second sock syndrome because you're just working on everything at one time. Two, it helps me to keep my tension kind of the same. So I will cast on and knit the ribbing, and then I will cast on both, and then I'll knit the ribbing for both, and then I'll just like move through each step the same so that my tension is relatively the same. And it also helps me to make sure to keep track of things like row count, things like that. It's also easier for me to do things like the heel flap and the heel turn, just because I'm not a frequent sock knitter, so I don't have those things memorized. They're not fully committed to memory. And so I can look down at the pattern, and I will link to the pattern that I used for this vanilla recipe below. And it talks about the Eye of Partridge heel flap and the heel turn. And I will also link to a video series that I used when I knit these socks and a couple of other pairs that go along with the pattern that I'm gonna link. I will have everything linked below so that if you are interested in knitting a pair of socks to just kind of understand the structure, but you also need the visual, you will have that. And the video tutorial uses 9-inch circulars, which are my favorite way to knit socks. It's my favorite way to knit small circumference things in general. I like circular needles. I don't like DPNs. I don't like magic loop. But it helps me so that I can just look at the pattern for the Eye of Partridge, do it, and then do it again, and then I don't have to think about it. And frankly, the heel flap and the heel turn are the parts where I am the most nervous, and I frequently look back at my pattern. So it kind of gets that out of the way, and then I don't have to think about it anymore. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I do the heel flap and the heel turn on DPNs. I do that because it's just easier. It's a little fiddly if you just use the 9-inch circular. So there's that. And I am storing one sock in this little pouch that I got with an old French Supply Co. order. And it's perfect for storing socks, and then I can put this in my purse or my handbag or anywhere whenever I'm going to brunch or to a picnic or something like that. Then I have a sock with me that I can knit, and all of them. And it keeps the yarn from getting tangled because I have 2 different yarn balls. So it's all just living in this bag. So now I understand now why people love socks. I knit on those a lot during work meetings, during Zooms, because it's so small and I can really start to fly when I'm working on that, especially once you get your tension and your grip right. It is amazing to knit on 9-inch circulars or to just even knit a sock. So I highly recommend it if you have a lot of work meetings and things like that. It's a lot easier, I think, to work on a pair of socks than even working on something like my half and half wrap. But that's me. My final whip is actually how I got my mojo back. And I'm going to talk about the yarn because the yarn inspired the knit. So I went to my local yarn store, which is Looped Yarn Works. I'll link it below, here in Washington, D.C. when I was not feeling the greatest about knitting. And it wasn't even anything about knitting. I just didn't, like I said, I didn't have my mojo. And I found this Malabrigo Susurio yarn, which is 50% silk, 25% wool, and 25% linen. Or I blocked it. It just is so drapey, I think in large part because of the silk, but also because of the linen. And it feels so good close to skin. It is just a gorgeous yarn. And I saw it and I instantly was like, I need to take this home, as one does in a yarn shop. And I initially was going to knit the Streamline Tank by Two of Wands, which I will link below. It's a beautiful pattern, and it has this beautiful pattern just right in the front of it looks like some sort of broken rib or fisherman's rib type of stitch right in the front, and it's beautiful. And I swatched for it, and this was the swatch that I did. And I do the trick where you do yarn overs and knit 2 together for your millimeter size. And this one doesn't have it, but if I have something that is, say, like 4.25, I'll do a purl bump for each 2.25. I'll do a purl bump for each 0.25. So I knit the swatch, and it's very open, not in a revealing way, but I just worried that it would, with the weight of the garment, that it would just be more open than I wanted. And I wanted something with a tighter stitch definition. I also realized looking at this swatch that I felt like the pattern of the streamline tank would detract from the beauty of this yarn because it's so beautiful. It's so unique. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful color. And I didn't want a pattern that was going to take away from that. So I went on Ravelry, I went on Instagram and just started looking for design ideas and design patterns. I wanted something very simple, stockinette, a very classic yet modern kind of cut, and something that I could wear to work or out with friends, and it would serve both purposes. It would be a more dual purpose top. And the pattern that I landed on is Petite Knit Cumulus Top. This is not the best picture, but it is a stockinette spaghetti strap tank. I guess the tank is almost like a camisole, like a knitted cami. And it's a very, very simple pattern, which I also kind of needed as I'm getting my mojo back and getting back into the swing of knitting. And you knit, I will show you. I cast this on last night. I don't know if it will be last night for you at the time I get this video up, but I cast it on last night as of the recording of this video. And you knit 4 of these triangles. So you start at the point, you cast on, and then you do increases, and you do 4 of these triangles, and then you join the triangles, you knit in the round. It has a folded over hem and then an I-cord edging detail and I-cord straps. So I have 1 triangle done, and I have pretty good amount of weight on the second triangle. I am really enjoying this knit. It's very simple. This is what I work on at night when I'm watching TV and I want something that I can concentrate on, but not something where I am gonna lose steam while I'm watching TV. So this is really, really perfect for that. It is not the most size inclusive pattern, but once you know how the piece is constructed, it is very easy to modify and add more bust circumference if that is something that you need. So while it is not written to be size inclusive, if you understand the overall construction of the piece, it can be very size inclusive, and it's easy to modify to make it be more size inclusive. It's also a good beginner pattern. You will learn some increases and some finishing details, but you just need to be able to knit and purl. And the biggest sort of skill set that you would be picking up is doing the I-cord. So it's a very easy knit, and I've been really, really enjoying this. And I'm storing it in my Fringe Supply Co bag. This is the natural color that just has a bunch of different enamel pins that are knitting related. You cannot buy Fringe Supply Co bags anymore, but I do have an acquisition to share if you are somebody who can sew or know somebody who can sew, so that you can have your own Fringe Supply Co bag. Stay tuned. So when I purchased that yarn, it set off a wave, a spark in me, and I started picking up so many summer yarns for so many ideas. So I'm going to share just a few of the yarns that I picked up that have really interesting fiber content, at least I think interesting fiber content, and are really, really good if you're looking for more warm weather, not only yarns to work with, but like to be able to make warm weather objects with your yarn, so that if you're somebody like me who is currently in 90+ degree weather, you're not having to worry about wearing your hand knits or like passing out from having on so many knits. So I have done a lot of yarn shopping, but I'm not going to share every single thing that I purchased. I'm just going to share some of the things that I bought that have pattern ideas attached to them. And then I have one that it's not a warm weather knit, and I have another one where I need your help with an idea of what to knit with it. I don't know what I'm gonna make. So I might talk about those. I might save them for another podcast. We'll see. So the first yarn that I bought, and this is living in, again, just a little linen bag. I don't even know if this is linen. I don't know. It feels like linen bag from when I bought a French Supply Co bag. And these are great for storing yarn. They're great for project bags, honestly. So Purl Soho was having a sale, and I picked up a bunch of yarn, but I picked up this Spectrum silk in the colorway Lilac Petal. This is a really accurate color. It is 100% silk, and I picked up 200 grams. I think, yeah, I picked up 200 grams of this, and my plan is to make a ranunculus. I know that a lot of people have made this. It's very open and airy, and they're so beautiful, and it's so easy to modify. So I think I'm gonna make a tank, excuse me, a tank version of the ranunculus out of this silk, and I think it's gonna be really, really pretty for spring. Even though it's summertime, I want to get to this, so hopefully I will start this after I finish my tank if I don't start working on something else. But I think that this will be my very next cast on, and I'm excited to work with that. I've never knit with a 100% pure silk yarn before, so I think it will be really interesting to experience what that feels like, in the hands and on the needles, and just learn about a new fiber that I haven't worked with. Another yarn that I picked up is this Santolina from Purl Soho. It is 70% organic cotton, 20% rayon from bamboo and hemp. And it doesn't feel rustic. It doesn't feel hard on the hands. I've knit with 100% pure cotton and I did not love it. This does not feel like that. It feels very soft, like wool actually. So I'm thinking about making the camisole number, I think it's camisole number 14 from My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's a really beautiful ribbed camisole with a high neck, and I think this would be really pretty in that, and I think it would make it a transitional item, something that I could wear to work, something that I could wear out with friends, something that I can use in the really all year round just because of the neckline and because of the fiber content. So I'm really excited, and I think this will actually be my next cast on just because it's something that I can wear a little bit more readily than the ranunculus, but we'll see. It'll be one of the two of those once I finish the cumulus top. But I really do enjoy this yarn, and I love the color of it. I just love this sort of neutrally beige color that I think is going to work with a ton of different items in my wardrobe. The other yarn that I picked up for a more warm weather knit is from Espace Tricot. It is their Grace. It's 75% merino, 15% cashmere, and 10% silk. And it is in this beautiful, yeah, this is the color. It's in this beautiful lilac mauve color that I think, again, is going to just be really, really pretty, really neutral, and like a year-round kind of way. And because it is merino, cashmere, and silk, I think it's going to be more of a fall and spring item. But I do want to make just like a plain stockinette tee out of this. I may look for something that has a little bit of interest in terms of the neckline or something like that, but I don't want to do, I'm sure that this would have great stitch definition. It is a single ply. Yeah, it's a single ply yarn, so I'm sure it would have really, really pretty stitch definition, but I just think for the color and for just the way that it feels, I want it to be something that is classic and clean and streamlined. So I'm gonna look for some pattern ideas for this. But if you have any good tee ideas, I'm listening. Leave a comment below and help me out. So those are the summer weather yarns that I picked up. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with that Grace from Espace Tricot, but I don't know. I was thinking about the Rift Tee from Jacqueline C. Slack, but I know that it has some sort of pretty detailing in the body and along the, what is that called? The ribbing, the bottom hem. So that's something that I was thinking about, but I'm not 100% certain that that yarn and that pattern are a perfect match. So I'm going to think about it a little bit more because that yarn was a splurge. And so I want to make sure that I pick a pattern that is going to really complement the yarn the best. And that is going to be something that I'm really gravitating towards wearing, even though I really do want to knit a rift tee. And I did buy some yarn that I think would be a good fit for that, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay. I lost track of my things. That's okay. So a couple other things that I picked up when I was on, the reason I even went on Espastrico's website is because I had seen a lot of people talking about the Lane Magazine 52 Weeks of Socks book. And so I picked one up from Espastrico. It was one of the few places that I could still find one, but I would definitely check your local yarn store to see if they have one. It has this beautiful like dust. It's not a full dust jacket. I don't know what it's called when it's only half of the book, but it has this beautiful cover on it. And there are so many beautiful sock patterns in this book. If you are not a sock knitter, I still highly, highly recommend this book because you may one day decide that you want to be a sock knitter. And I think it's really important, maybe not important, that's giving it too much weight. I think it would be really nice to have a book with a bunch of different types of socks. They have toe up, they have cup down, they have different types of heels, they have some with color work, some with lace, some that are chunky, you know, with rustic yarns, with superwash yarns. There's just so many different types of socks in here. And I've bookmarked a few that I'm really interested in knitting for myself and for gifts. But this was a really, really good book. And so when I went on their website, because I saw that they had it in stock, then I saw that yarn and I did buy some other yarn, but it happens to the best of us, right? I also picked up 52 Weeks of Shawls. I'll show you the cover. And both of these are just really beautiful books. They're so beautiful that you can leave them out as like coffee table books. They just have such a clean aesthetic. The paper is super duper nice. And the cover is like a beautiful like linen type of material. They're just really, really well put together, really well thought out books. And again, there are so many shawl patterns in here that I want to knit, not only for myself as items that I could see myself wearing, but there are also shawls in here that I personally wouldn't wear, but I think would look really beautiful on some of the people that are on my hand knit list. So again, even if you're not a shawl knitter, I highly recommend trying to track down a copy of this book because it's worth it. The photography is beautiful. Let me see if I can, excuse me. The photography in this book is beautiful. The models are gorgeous. Trying to find one where I'm not going to be giving anything away. Let's see. There we go. The models are beautiful. And I have this one earmarked as one that I want to do. It is the Silta pattern by Tiff Nealon. But beautiful, beautiful patterns in this book. And I highly, highly recommend it. I picked my Shawls book up from Farmer's Daughter Fiber. But after I bought this, I went back to my local yarn shop to pick up a couple of back issues of Pom Pom. And they had these in stock. So I wish I would have known that because I would have purchased it from them, but I will link to my local yarn shop below, but reach out to your local yarn shop and see if you can find it to support them and to get a wonderful book. The last thing that I want to share, I mentioned that I had this French Supply Co bag. French Supply is one of my favorite bags. I think partially because they were kind of trendy, but they were also just really well thought out. This is my yellow one from La Bien Aimee that has my La Bien Aimee pins that I ordered from their website, and it's holding La Bien Aimee yarn. But I just love that they're drawstring. I like that they have pockets on the inside. They're so roomy, they're so spacious. This bag right now is holding 2 caked up balls of yarn. You can't really see that. And then I think like 4 skeins of yarn. The pattern, the needles, everything. This is my Vertices Unite that I have not cast on yet. But I love that bag. And so I got an email one night from, I think it was from Fringe, and they said, hey, you can buy a pattern to make your own Fringe Supply Co. bag. And I immediately clicked on the link. And this is from Grainline Studio. I will link to this kit below. And you can buy the pattern, the kit. You can buy a full kit. Let me pull this out. That comes with everything that you need to make the bag. It comes with grommets. You can choose if you want a leather strap or if you want another type of strap. I did leather so that all of my bags would match. And I picked this beautiful bright orange fabric, which I believe is, yeah, it's pre-cut. The fabric is pre-cut. You do have to make a few smaller cuts to the bag, but it's pretty much pre-cut, and it comes in this beautiful canvas bag, and it comes with either a PDF or a printed off pattern. I bought the printed off pattern because I didn't want to worry about trying to print it myself, but if you are comfortable with printing patterns, then you can buy the PDF version and print the pattern yourself. There wasn't a big price difference between the PDF and the printed version. I think it might have been $1 or $2 more for the printed versus the PDF. They're also doing a sew along because they know that a lot of people who are knitters have purchased this. So they're doing a sew along. I will link to those videos below as well. My mom is coming to town soon, and I'm hoping that she and I can work on this together, that she can assist me with making this project bag. But I'm so excited. And they had the natural color like this. I think they had a yellow. I don't know if it was this exact yellow, but they had a yellow. They had a brown, which I already have, and so the orange was the only color they had that I didn't have, but I also love the brightness of this orange, and I think it's going to be just like a beautiful project bag. So I will link to all of this below. If you have wanted a Fringe Supply Co. bag but couldn't afford one or couldn't get one because they went out of business, then I highly recommend picking up these kits. They were a little on the pricier side. I think it might be a little, but it's not any more expensive than any other project bags that I've really seen on the market. And if you know how to sew, then you'll have the pattern, and then you can pick whatever type of canvas you want and make as many fringe style bags as you want because you'll have the pattern. So this was a really fun thing to pick up, and I'm really, really excited that I purchased it. I think that's it for what I want to share. Now I want to talk about my giveaway. So if you have been following me for any amount of time, you know that I am a Lola Bean Yarn Co. stan. Adela could dye air and I would buy it at a premium. I love her work. I love her color combinations. I love her aesthetic. I love her inspirations. Like I'm obsessed with her yarn, and in my mind, she and I are really great friends, even though she has no idea who I am. I just really am. I'm inspired by the way that she runs her business. I'm inspired by the way that her transparency and her openness and just everything. Adela, she's amazing to me. And so I want to share my love of Lola Bean Yarn Co. with you all as a way of saying thank you for subscribing to my channel, for supporting my channel. It is amazing to me that there are over 1,000 subscribers, that the view counts are what they are. It blows my mind, honestly. And I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I can't say thank you enough. And so I wanted to do something. It's a small token, but hopefully you like it. It's something that I love, so I want to share what I love with you. A few months ago, Lola Bean did a collaboration with Spin Cycle and came out with a custom colorway called Tray Bean. It's red, black, and green. Beautiful, beautiful colors. I love the green. I love the deep red. And so when I bought some for me, I picked up an extra skein for one of you. I was hoping that I would get to the place where I would do a giveaway, and this actually came a lot sooner than I anticipated. So I picked this up and I'm really excited to share this. I also picked up on a recent order an extra pack of these overcast stitch markers, which I will show you what they look like. So they come in this beautiful wax packaging, which I love. And I don't know if you can see that, but they are teardrop shaped. They are teardrop shaped stitch markers, which I love. And they also come with this really beautiful umbrella progress keeper. There we go. Comes with a beautiful umbrella progress keeper. This is from my personal set. You will get a brand new unopened set of your own. And they're by the company Firefly Notes online. But I bought them from a different website. So I will link both where I bought these from and the main website. I'm interested. I picked up another set of stitch markers from this company, and they just have beautiful stitch markers. So I feel like I will be buying more and more from that company as time goes on, because I may be a new addict. Anyway, so the winner will win this dyed in the wool and these overcast stitch markers. And in order to win, in order to enter, you need to live in the US. I will only be shipping in the US for this particular giveaway. So in order to enter to win this giveaway, you need to do the 3 following things. 1, be a subscriber to this YouTube channel. 2, follow me on Instagram at Phylena Knits. I will have it linked below. And 3, leave a comment on this video telling me what your favorite summertime knit is. What is your favorite thing to knit in the summer, or your favorite thing to pick up and knit when you're in a little bit of a knitting rut? I have discovered that for me, it might be socks. I think socks are the way for me to regain my mojo, but I didn't know that until recently. And so I'd be really interested to hear either what you love to knit when it's warm outside, or what objects that you knit help to get you out of a rut. And if you do those 3 things, then you will be entered to win this yarn and these stitch markers. I will use a random comment generator to pick the winner, and I will contact that winner through YouTube. And I'm trying to think what else I need to say about that. I think that's it. Please don't just put enter me or I want to win. I want there to be dialogue in the comments, and I also want to know the answer. So I will only be accepting as entries to the giveaway those people that answer the question and are followers of me on both Instagram and YouTube. So I think that's it. Thank you again so much for watching. Please comment, please like, please subscribe, please follow me on Instagram at Phylena Knits. Everything will be linked below. Everything that I've talked about in today's episode will be linked below. I think I have figured out a new way of recording and editing that will allow me to also produce my videos a little bit quicker. So hopefully I will be able to upload a little bit more often. I also have a couple of non-podcasts, but still sit down and talk style knitting content videos that I am working on putting together. And so you should look forward to those videos. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I have. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to reading everybody's comments below and for people to start interacting with my new Instagram account. I'm very excited about that, and I'm looking forward to talking to you all more often and uploading a little bit more often now that I'm kind of out of my knitting rut, and I have a lot of things that I'm really excited to work on and a lot of things that I'm really excited to share with you. I have so much more yarn that I didn't even share, but I'm gonna wait for some of them talk about future knitting, because I kind of already have an idea of what they're going to be, but they're winter projects, and it's too hot. I'm not there yet. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I will talk to you soon. I will hopefully see you over on my Instagram account. And until then, happy knitting, stay safe, be well. Bye.